Hello. I'm going to talk to you today about writing a personal statement. And personal statement is an incredibly important part of any application, and it's often the one that students have the most difficulty with for two reasons. First of all, it's an incredibly free form. There's no one right way to write a personal statement. And also the subject matter is yourself, which you might think is really and makes it a much easier form, but actually that often makes it very, very difficult just because you know yourself so well and you have a host of different experiences that you could write about. So today I'm going to talk about three things. The first is where the personal statement fits in the overall package of an application, how it's different from, say, a CV, or as Conor is going to talk about, the project proposal. Secondly, critical components of the work. And third, just a few points, not exhaustive, of course, a few points that you might want to keep in mind when you're writing this. So first, what exactly is a personal statement and what is it doing in terms of the rest of your application? I think it's really important to think about it in terms of difference. It's not a CV, so you're not simply listing your achievements, brilliant as they are, in chronological order as like intrinsic evidence of your qualifications for the fellowship. That's definitely the work of a resume or a CV. And it's not quite a project proposal, although often personal statements, depending on which fellowship you apply to, will contain the project proposal perhaps within the body of the personal statement. But it's not just like, this is what I'm going to do with the fellowship and this is what I hope to achieve in a year or two. You really want to set it up a bit more and show a bit more of your personal qualities and your background that maybe qualifies you for doing that particular project, that particular work. So if it's not a CV, not a project proposal, what is it? And I would say that broadly speaking, it's helpful to think about it in terms of a narrative. It provides a narrative of who you are, what interests you, what you want to do in your life, the background that sets that up, that qualifies you in some sense to actually be asking the questions that you're asking, to be pursuing the sort of project you want to pursue. And it also convinces, and this is the important part, I think, it convinces your reader that winning this particular fellowship would be an absolutely important, even necessary step for you, for your development, for whatever sort of persona that you lay out in a personal statement. And there are a few important components of this, and I mean, the first thing I'm going to say is that this is a personal statement, so you don't necessarily have to write about it in this order, in chronological order, but it's helpful, I think, to think of these four components as necessary parts of any personal statement. So the first is, who are you now? What interests you? What's important to you? What intellectual questions really grab you? You know, what's your major? All of these things that come together to provide a really strong and distinct portrait of who you are now. Secondly, what experiences, classes, work or life experience, episodes in your life have been really formative for you in terms of your development. Again, that could be academic, that could be personal, it could be I don't know, political, or sort of thinking in terms of class or race or gender, whatever it is. But what particular episodes from your life have really brought you to be the person who you are today, that person you are now? Thirdly, what are your future goals, to your best understanding at this moment? Obviously, it's not a contract, like I'm going to do, I hope to do X, Y, and Z, and that you have to fulfill that within this year, or that you have to do this even after this year. But just to your best knowledge, what do you think you want to do with your life? And what is your larger mission in pursuing these goals? What is your larger purpose in pursuing these? I think that's really important to contextualize your desire, not only in terms of yourself, but also how it might help others, or how it might advance the field of science, or advance the particular study that you locate yourself in. And the fourth component, I think, which is key and often a good way to end a personal statement, but not, of course, the only way to end, is the idea of the bridge, right? So you can lay out all of these things. Who are you now? What experiences have you had? What are your future goals? But unless it really pertains to the particular fellowship that you're looking for, it's not going to really make any sense. Why do you want this fellowship opportunity? personally, in terms of your personal development, or the larger mission, why is this the necessary next step? And that's the ultimate goal, I think, of the personal statement, to kind of pair up who you are as an individual and the sort of mission of the fellowship, which is very different. We'll talk about that, I think, between the Fulbright, the Watson, the Marshall, the Rhodes, all of these are pretty distinct. So I have a few points to keep in mind, and I just wanted to remind you that we are having a workshop, 7 p.m. to 8:30 p.m. at the Writing Center, where we're going to go much more into detail about the process of writing this, things to keep in mind, questions you might want to ask yourself, how to gather certain information that would be really pertinent to writing this. So that's, 7 p.m. at the Writing Center, go more into detail. But here's a taste of that, I guess, a few points to keep in mind. I think the first is that it's really important to get a really strong and very specific sense of where you are now, which will help you determine what you include in the essay. You're not going to talk about every single class you've ever taken and how it relates. You're not going to talk about every major life change. It really is a slice of who you are, but a particular slice. For example, if you're like a pre-med Russian major, which side are you going to offer to the fellowship committee? I mean, you have both, but maybe you're applying for Fulbright to study Russian literature in Petersburg. That sort of narrative of your personal development is going to be very different than, say, if you took a Watson to, I don't know, study like cross-cultural medicinal practices in Russia. You're going to offer a very different sense of how you got to where you are now and the fit. So it's important to, again, know who you are now. Secondly, it's also important to know your audience and the perspective of the admissions committee. I mean, you're not going to know who's sitting on the committee, obviously, but all these fellowships are sort of looking in subtle ways for different types of candidates. And yes, you don't need to be an athlete to get the Rhodes, but they are looking for, they do have specific questions. It's important to kind of read into that and to read smartly, I think. And one way I think you can get a sense of that is just to read other people's fellowships. I mean, when you talk to Denise Gagnon, she'll give you a bunch of different samples of winning Fulbright scholarships, winning Watsons, and you do get a sense of the kind of character, what they're looking for through that. My third point is that, I think this is actually probably the most important thing that I've learned writing this. You write this to convince a fellowship committee of certain personal qualities, skills, abilities, attributes that you want to convey as your strong points. And it's not done simply by writing them, like I'm interested in X, I am Y, but performing them in a certain way. Like I'm interested in X because, and then you can go on and explain exactly why it's interesting, exactly why it's interesting maybe at this moment in history or politics or whatever, how your intervention is really important. So in some sense, showing them and establishing sort of qualifying whatever it is that you say that you're interested in. And you can really take your time doing that. As what will depend on the different fellowships. But anyway. And the last thing I'll say is that at the end of the day, as much as you're trying to convince a committee that this is absolutely right for you at this moment, it's equally important that you yourself are convinced of the authenticity of that desire. If you're writing this and you're saying, man, it doesn't quite feel like the right fit, maybe I should apply to this fellowship, which would allow me to write about this or pursue this part of me, that's probably the one to do. So you listen as much to your readers, your interlocutors, as yourself. Because ultimately, you're going to be doing this and nobody else will if you win it anyway.